Hello folks, welcome back. In this video we're going to finish our pagination module thing, and I'm going to try and talk a little bit slower. I think I was speaking very quickly in the last video, so I'm going to try and slow down a little bit, and maybe that way we can all relax and there will be less typos, you know? That's the vibe. So let's continue. We're going to get this thing working. It's going to be completely modular, so you're going to be able to easily add this to other sections of the website, and even you'll be able to add it to other websites, okay? That's the vibe, and here we go. So I'm going to start by opening up our custom pagination module. Now, we've done some very good work here. This is awesome. I think the structure is cool, and it's definitely something that we can work with. But you know, to make this thing completely modular, we actually need to be able to pass some more variables into this thing, okay? We need more than just the template. So I'm going to add some more variables here. And I have tried my best, folks, to make these variables kind of meaningful and something that you can look back on later on and it will all make sense, okay? So the first variable we're going to add is called target base URL, okay? Target base URL. The next variable is called total rows, okay? Total rows. The next variable is going to be called offset underscore segment, okay? And the last variable that we need to add on to this to get it all working is going to be called limit, okay? So with just these 5 variables here, this thing will be completely functional. We're going to be able to do awesome stuff. In fact, we can just forget about it. This is what we need to pass in, okay? So listen, you know how if you're doing a function and you end up passing in lots and lots of different things, eventually it becomes kind of messy, you know? So let's copy those 5 variables, right? I've copied them, and in here I'm just going to say data, okay? And then we're going to head down here and let's leave a little note for the future generations. I'm going to say note, for this to work, data must contain, and then I'm going to paste in the stuff, okay? So now anyone who looks at this in the future, they're going to know exactly what this thing needs. It's all going to be cool. Hopefully they will understand what these variables mean, and everything's going to be fine, right? So before this thing starts rocking and rolling, we are going to clarify the variables. So template is going to be equal to data template, okay? And there's 4 more of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So target base URL, right? Target base URL equals data target base URL. Then we've got total rows equals data total rows. Then we've got offset segment, obviously equals data offset segment. And finally limit equals data limit, okay? So we have now taken in the variables that we need. We've now clarified the variables, and all we have to do is make sure that these variables are being used in the correct place, and then we can forget about this, okay? You can forget about this. That will be us, okay? That's the vibe. So let's go through those variables and we'll make sure everything is cool. Now template, well, that's pretty straightforward. It calls up the bootstrap settings and everything is fine. Then we've got this thing called target base URL, okay? You see where we have a config base URL? I'm going to take out this thing and I'm going to paste in target base URL. This is the variable that's going to be our base URL, at least the base URL for the pagination. Can you handle the vibe? I think you can. Now, total rows is going to go in where config total rows is. So there we go with that. Nice and easy. Everything is cool. And then as we move down, we've got a thing called offset segment. Now the offset segment refers to the segment on the URL that this class needs to look at to figure out how far we are into the result set. That's where it's going to get the offset, okay? So we don't actually have any config offset thing here mentioned at all. So I'm going to make a new config setting up, and it's going to be config. Now they don't call it offset segment, they call it URI underscore segment, okay? And that's going to equal our offset segment. I actually think that offset segment is a more meaningful name than URI segment. I mean, everybody's going on about URIs and URLs and all of that, and some people don't even know the difference. Offset segment is something that we can all understand. Can you handle the vibe? I think you can. And then finally, we have a vibe of per page, okay, config per page, and that is going to be equal to our limit, okay? That's the vibe, and that refers to the amount of items that can be displayed on each page. That's the vibe. Now look, you may have noticed that if we scroll down here and look at the per page and num links, right, and we scroll up again and have a look here, look, we are now well, num links is cool, but per page, well, now we're getting that from somewhere else. Can you handle the vibe? So I'm going to take the per page thing out here, and that's us. Okay, actually, let's take it out here as well. So just in case you use this again, you now know that you don't need to worry about the per page stuff. Okay, so that's us. I'm going to try and fit this into the page here. That's us. It's all ready to rock. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so we can save that and we don't need to worry about it again. Okay, so next we need to do some changes to the store categories controller to get this all working. Okay, so let's open up the store categories controller, and here we are. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do here. Right, okay, I'm going to start off by creating a couple of very simple functions, and these functions are going to come in handy. The first function is going to be called getLimit, okay, and all it does is it says limit equals 20, return limit. Okay, it's as simple as that. The next function that I'm going to create is going to be called getOffset. Okay, now this one's a little bit different. It's going to say it's going to say offset equals this URI segment 4. Okay, so the vibe is it's looking up here and it's looking at 1, 2, 3, and the fourth segment is where it's going to get the offset. The offset is obviously the point where we start from. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes some sense. So that's the vibe. It's going to be segment 4. Now, if not is numeric offset, okay, if we don't have anything in there or we don't have a number, well, in that case, offset is going to be equal to 0. Okay, so that's the vibe. And now I'm just going to return the offset. Okay, so that's us. Two very simple functions. I hope you'll agree that this is all very, very easy. Okay, thank you very much. So now, this is where the good stuff happens. I'm going to copy this query here, this MySQL query. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to take it out. And then I'm going to make one more function, just one more. And it's going to be called generate MySQL query. Okay, and I'm going to paste that query in here, and then we're going to return the MySQL query. So now when we need that query, we're going to say MySQL query equals, and then it's going to say generate MySQL query. Now you may say, why even bother? Why? I mean, this hasn't changed anything, doesn't really do anything new. Why bother? Well, the vibe is, if you're making a big application, and that's what we're doing here, we are making a big application, then it's a very good practice to break things up into very small, manageable functions. Okay, that's much nicer to look at, much more easy to upgrade than to have a big giant function. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the vibe, and thank you very much. But as a matter of fact, this MySQL query business is about to become a little bit more complicated. Now, not much, stay cool, you can handle this and everything's going to be fine. Let me show you what's happening. The vibe is, to get this page loading up the way that we want it to load up, it's going to have to get two things from the database. First of all, it's obviously going to have to get the guitars that need to be displayed on this page, right? Now at the moment we are displaying everything, but that's not really cool. We want to bring up the guitars that need to show up on this particular page. In this case, only 20 guitars, right? So that's the first thing that we need. The next thing that we need from the database is to know the amount of guitars that belong to Fender, okay? The total amount of guitars that belong to Fender. And the reason why we need to know this, folks, is because that's going to help us to draw this thing. Without knowing how many guitars belong to Fender, we will not be able to draw this, okay? That's the vibe, and that's going to be a second query. So the vibe is, this page is going to do two database queries. Now, some of you clever clogs out there might be saying, well, why not just fetch all of the stuff, loop through it, turn it into an array or something like that, and then pass the array into the view and extract Fender and all of that. So listen, that kind of thinking is kind of impressive in some places, and sometimes it's kind of good to do that. But in this instance, look, you're only going to be saving about 0.04 of a second. Believe me, this page is going to be a bullet, okay? Even though we're doing two queries, it's going to be faster than, you know, I don't want to badmouth other frameworks, but it's going to be faster than probably most of the other major frameworks out there. It's going to be fine, okay? So that's the vibe. Thank you very much. So let's go back to our store categories controller, and we have this thing that says fetch the items that belong to this category, okay? I'm going to change the word fetch to count, okay? I want to count the items that belong to this category. And in order to do that, I'm going to create a brand new variable, and I'm going to call this variable use_limit, and I'm going to set useLimit to false. Okay, that's the vibe. It's going to be set to false. Okay, now what on earth does useLimit do, and what does all this mean? Well, if we go to this generate MySQL query thing, it's now expecting a variable called useLimit, okay? And I'm going to leave a little note here that says useLimit can be true or false, okay? So anyone using this in the future, they know exactly what this should be. And here's the vibe. It's very, very simple. We've built up a MySQL query, okay? But down here, I'm gonna say if useLimit is equivalent to true, then I'm gonna get the limit. We have a little function that can do that, thank you very much. Then I'm gonna get the offset, okay? And we have a little function that does that. Thank you very much indeed. And then I'm going to say that the MySQL query also equals, and then I'll just say space limit, and be careful here because it's offset first actually. So it's offset, and then we do a comma, and then we add the limit in, okay? So the vibe is, if we are doing this query and we want to limit the results, we set useLimit to true, and it's going to add this limit and offset thing onto the MySQL query, okay? That's, I think, hopefully you'll agree that that's pretty simple, okay? So that's the vibe. So generate MySQL query, and we are now passing in this useLimit thing, okay? And I'm just going to say right here, total items equals query, custom query, and sorry, let me back up a step. Query equals this custom query passing in the MySQL query, okay? And then I'm just going to say num rows equals query num rows, okay? And if it makes you feel good, you can even change num rows so that it says total items, okay? That's the vibe. Now we know how many items belong in this category. So then we have a vibe going on here where it runs a query again, and this time we're going to fetch the items for this page, okay? So it's exactly the same vibe as before, and this is for fetching the items that should be on this page. The only difference is this time useLimit is going to be set to true, okay? That's the vibe. So this time it's going to get the MySQL query again, but this time it's going to add in the limit and offset stuff, and it's going to be fantastic, okay? So we have all of the items that belong to the category. We have all of the items that belong to the page. You know something? I actually think we are looking very good indeed. So now you can see that we are bringing up this custom pagination thing, and we are firing generate pagination. We know from earlier on that this is expecting 5 variables. Let's make up a little variable here called pagination_data, okay? And you remember these 5 variables here? I'm going to copy those, and one by one I'm just going to go through these and make sure everything is cool. So let's go with, actually I'll do a little comment here so that we can see what's happening. So here we go. We're going to say pagination data, and we'll start off with template, okay? And the template is going to equal public underscore bootstrap. That's the vibe. Next, we've got this pagination data thing, and then we've got a setting that's called target base URL. Okay, now the target base URL is not the base URL that we all know and love, right? It's not this thing. It's referring to the target base URL for the pagination class. That's the vibe, okay? So as far as that goes, I'm just going to say this. How about something like get target pagination base URL, okay? And I'm just going to make a little function up, okay? Just something nice and simple. Here it is here, no big deal. And it's just going to say something like first bit, first bit. You can say first segment if you want, doesn't matter. This URI segment 1, okay? Then we've got the second bit, which is this URI segment 2, and then we've got the third bit, which is this URI segment 3, okay? Now, just as a reminder, the vibe is our first segment in this case is music, then we've got instruments, then we've got Fender guitars, okay? So the way it's going to work is I'm going to say target base URL equals the base URL, the normal base URL, and then we're going to add on the first bit, then we're going to add on the second bit, and then we're going to add on the third bit. But notice we are leaving out the fourth bit. We do not want the offset to be a part of this, okay? So I'm just going to return target base URL, okay? So that's us. Thank you very much. From here onwards, well, it's all plain sailing. I'm just going to say pagination data total rows, okay? And that's going to be equal to total items, like so. And then I'm going to say pagination data offset segment, okay? And that's just going to be 4, okay? And then finally we're going to say pagination data limit equals this get limit, okay? So now we have clarified all of the variables that we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's fine. I'm even going to take this thing out because we don't need that. And everything should be just fine. So let's go to the page now, and I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, relax, everything's cool, everything's cool. It's saying that there's an unknown variable called update ID, and that's okay. Don't panic, everything is cool. Here is the vibe. When we run this query here, it's looking for an update ID, okay? Now congratulations if you spotted that. I actually missed it. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm just going to pass in this update ID thing, and when we generate one of those MySQL queries, we're going to pass in the update ID. Okay, so generate MySQL query, generate, there we go, and we already know what the update ID is. Look, it's way up here, see, everything's cool. So let's refresh the page again. Here we go. Okay, and that's starting to look a lot more healthy. You can see that we have 20 guitars on the page. That's good. You can see that this has came down, and as a matter of fact, just for testing purposes, folks, I'm going to temporarily change the limit to 10, okay? just so you can see this thing working. So we'll hit refresh, and as you can see, we are now limited to 10 items per page. And look at this, see, everything works just fine. Okay, here's the previous thing. Okay, can you see that? Everything is very, very cool indeed. That's disabled, which is nice. There is something else though, you know, I'm just going to check something here. They've got this thing, class active. Okay, class active, do you see that? And they do this when we're actually on the thing that we're on, if that makes sense. So let's do that, because I do like the blue background, you know. So let me just have a look for that if I can. Right, here we go. So where it says class disabled, I'm going to change that to active, and with a little bit of luck this should make the thing go blue. Okay, so we'll hit refresh, and there we go. So that's very cool. Look at this. Next, see, everything is fantasticola, and I have to say I am feeling very good about this stuff. I hope you are too. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm going to change the limit to 20. I think that's probably a more sensible limit, and that is us. Okay, now I apologise for speaking so slowly during this, and I'm sorry if it's a bit boring, but hey, look, you've now got this thing and it's ready to rock. Okay, you can use this anywhere. I think it's actually pretty cool. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.